Mark and Paulette here, the true travelers in Mexico, and Paulette and I are going to be sharing a microphone because this set only has two, and we gave our guest one of them. Our guest today is Toyi, and she is in Mexico talking about culture and cultural differences between Mexico and basically the U.S., but some other countries too.
That's right.
So, what do you think? What are the most important cultural things about Mexico to you?
One of the most important cultural difference for me is the social life.
Social life?
I think, yes, we have a very strong social life. We like to go to parties. Our coffees can extend it for 6-7 hours without any problem.
Yeah.
Breakfast can end up in dinners. So we have a very strong life with our family and friends. So I think for me that's the one difference that I miss the most. The one that I don't miss the most and I really like from other places is what we were talking about last time. That direct communication at the beginning, it got me out of
versus the indirect communication.
Yes. Yeah. So when someone said to me like, no, I can't, I don't want it, I don't like it, was like, oh, that's rude. But after a while, I adapt that way of talking, like the direct communication, and I like it.
Yeah.
So yes, as an American coming here, that's the one that shocks me the most. As a Mexican going to other countries, the social life.
Yeah. It's difficult for Paulette and I too, because we're used to getting direct answers back of someone can't do something. That's fine. They can just tell us, no, I can't do that. Or no, sorry, I can't do that. And it's not an insult in any way, they're just saying they can't do that. Whereas Mexicans will probably more politely say, no, I can't do that by
the indirect language. Yes.
Or tell you they can when they really can't because they don't want to tell you no.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? Don't you think?
Yeah.
Yes, you need to read between the lines.
Yeah.
So after a while, you probably can tell, like, she said, yes, I'm coming, but that day I'm going to be super busy. I have this and that. But I will do my best to go. Yes, I will come.
Right.
And you can read between the lines and say, I don't think
They're
she's
not
coming.
Yeah.
But it takes you a while. And sometimes, yes, they say yes and means, no, I'm not.
It takes a while to get used to that. And as an American from the United States, that is a bit of a frustration at times, especially like with us as an example, we deal with construction workers or people that we have come to do stuff, and they say they'll be here tomorrow or the next day. Tomorrow the next day comes, they don't show up, and you don't hear from them again. So that's just something that you have to get used to. I always tell people that Mexico requires some patience.
It does. Yes,
So,
and some context too.
Yeah.
So I think if you give the contractor a little more context, that will help you a little bit to get your appointment on time. So instead of saying, can you just come to fix my roof? It's like, I having this problem and it's causing me this and that and that. So you explain a little bit more.
Right.
So,
and that may help you to...
So if you build some urgency to your request.
Right.
Okay. So the importance of a greeting is really important to Mexico's, where to Mexicans, like in the U.S., we just come up to someone and start talking, but in Mexico, it's like, ¿Cómo estás hoy? How are you doing today?
Right. Yes, Mexico is very formal. So, buenos días, buenas tardes, buenas noches, that is good morning, good afternoon, good night, is very important for us to say it. So if you go into an elevator and you are the next one. You say good morning to the people
Yeah.
who are at the elevator. Or before asking for any favor or task or anything, before anything, it has to be like the personal relationship first. Like I care more about you than the task. So first is, hi, good morning, how are you? Can you help me to find this or do that?
Yeah.
Or even to ask for, where is the restroom? Is, hi, good morning, do you know where the restroom is? So just a little good morning goes a long way.
Yeah. We've noticed that too. Like if a lot of times we'll be sitting in like a public office somewhere where there's a whole bunch of other people, and someone will just come in and say, buen dia, you know, and everyone and there says buen dia back. That's just
Yes.
part of a thing in Mexico. You know,
And
so-
that goes for messages too.
Goes for what?
Text messages
Oh.
or emails.
Yeah.
If you're in an office, instead of, I need that report, is, hi, good morning, how are you? By chance, do you have the report?
Okay.
So it's a little more
Right.
formal, but that, just that hello, good morning makes a big difference.
Right,
So
and,
yes,
and for me, I have to remember to do that.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty much like I'll say, you know, hey, when are you going to be coming or something like that, instead of saying, hi, good morning, how are you?
Yes.
And then, you know, break into, when will you be coming, you know, or what day or what time
Yeah.
or whatever. I have to remember to do that because, I don't know, for whatever reason, I don't do that very often. And I mean, I was the same way in the States. I would just kind of go into whatever.
Yeah, you don't do that very often because you're a type A personality. You just want to get right to the point.
I guess I'm just like very direct and whatever, and
it's the high context culture. As I said, if you
the
ask,
culture.
explain a little bit more.
Yeah.
If you greet someone, just add a little bit.
Yep.
Also, I was gonna say something else. One example, when we first moved to Memphis, I remember calling my boss and he's, hi, I won't be able to go to work because I'm sick. I have this and that because I ate tacos last night. And I explained everything. And my husband was looking at me like, don't do that. And I had up and said, why? You don't have to explain here. Just say, I cannot go to work, I'm sick, and you don't have to explain everything. Here in Mexico, they expect, or as a foreigner, it takes you also out of guard because Mexicans ask a lot of questions that are considered private in other places. So if I didn't say I'm not coming because just say I'm sick.
Right.
What happened to you?
Yeah.
Okay, I have a stomach virus.
Yeah.
Oh, you need to eat this and that and take this tea and they explain that, and it's like more like I care about you, not being intrusive.
So you are Mexican because you would do that.
I know. There's a lot of things that I think I am definitely. Well, my last name is Martinez, so I'm close. We're from Spain, but close enough. You know, I just feel like I feel like a lot of my ways are pretty much like Mexican too.
Yeah.
Although I do have to work on, you know, saying hi, good morning before I get into, are you coming today?
Yes.
So.
Another interesting topic that you covered was the sense of personal space and how it's different here in Mexico than in the United
Other
States,
cultures.
especially. I think Mexicans have
Closer
personal space, you know, whereas
we do. It's a little closer than the United States. It calls proxemics, and proxemics is the distance that you feel comfortable with strangers. So in some places is 1.5 meters. In some places are like 80 centimeters.
Yeah.
So it depends on the distance is how you feel about the other person. So if you are from a close distance culture and someone is moving backwards when you talk to them, you're gonna feel them like cold or distance, or they are not interested in your conversation. And the other way around, if they are talking with someone that is close distance and they get closer and closer to them, they're gonna feel like they're intrusive or aggressive or like invaders.
Yeah.
But I think the difference between United States is just few centimeters, so it's not that that big. The ones that have the biggest probably are the Asians, some of them.
Yeah, I was just
Like
gonna
the
say
Japanese is 1.3. I don't know exactly all
Yeah.
that, but it's more. And in United States and Mexico, it's about an arm length.
Yeah.
You are taller, so probably a little
Oh,
more.
a longer arm, yeah.
Yes, but
Yeah.
normally, I don't know. I think that's come from our schools. I don't know about yours, but in Mexico, I remember like keep your distance, and our distance was like
Yeah.
touching the elbow
arms.
from the
Oh,
person
okay.
that was in front of us,
Okay.
and that's about the length that we feel comfortable with.
Okay.
But
You-
it's very close to
You
United
gave
States.
a really funny demonstration. You were talking about, the Mexican sense of personal space versus the Japanese sense of personal space. And you as a Mexican, they want to be closer to you, so you move towards the person, and
Right.
then they're backing up, and so
It's a dance.
Yeah.
They move further and they get closer and then they move further.
Yeah.
And we did I did an MBA in Belgium, and I took a class in intercultural communications, and our teacher told us that she did an experiment. Our class was very diverse. We were from like 30 different nationalities in the same classroom. So very strategically, she said, okay, I'm gonna divide the group. You go here, you go there. And then the ones that we were in the room say, pay attention how they move. They're gonna do this.
Okay.
So they put like, yes, a Brazilian and a Japanese, and they were dancing. They were dancing in the room, and you can tell. And it's something that we do unconscious, so it's hard to tell until you see it in person how they dance.
Yeah. If you're stepping back and looking at it being acted out in front of you, it sometimes can be different. So now, I wonder if you could go ahead and just cover some of the other cultural things about Mexico that you think might be interesting for people.
Sure. One of the things that we were talking about greetings, that is the hello, but also we are like a very
Touchy.
we like to
feeling.
yes, we like to
Yeah.
touch a lot. So the distance is one, but also we hug, we kiss. So for us, it's when you meet someone, not like a stranger in the street,
Right.
but when you meet like someone that you don't know, but your friend is introducing you to this person, you greet them even first time with a kiss, like a handshake and a kiss, not between men and men. That's the only exception.
There's what?
Not between men and men.
Yes. Ladies,
Yeah.
yes, or
Yes.
men and lady is fine. So it's a handshake and then a kiss, like blowing in the air close to the cheek, like. And for men, they just shake hands or hug, or like a pat in the shoulder, like hi. But we touch a lot. And also in some countries, in the United States, it's not that like negative, that, but in some like Muslim countries or Asian countries, like hold hands in public is like
It's frowned upon.
that's not
Yeah.
accepted. In Mexico, it's okay to see couples holding hands or hugging or even kissing, like quick kiss. If it's like very
Sometimes it's more than that. We'll see young couples making out on park benches.
but it's not something that is like socially accepted. They do it,
They do it,
but it's not like socially accepted.
Yeah.
Holding hands or a small
Yeah.
kiss is accepted.
Yeah, I know like in the United States before moving here, I mean, when I greeted a girlfriend, we would always give each other a hug when we left, give each other a hug. We just didn't do the kiss on the cheek. That's just something more that, of course, being here in Mexico, that I've kind of added because that's
Yeah.
the culture.
Yes.
So, or with the man, that's the
Uh-huh.
culture.
Right.
Yeah. You were talking about Mexico being a kind of a more family-oriented culture too. And I know that's a broad scope, but I mean, I could just say, as an example, we'll be in Centro or we'll be in Harding, Tequisquiapan here, and we'll see whole families out at 9 or 10 at night playing in the park, having a good time. And then one of the other aspects you brought up about that is that when parents get older, the kids tend to take the parents back into the home with them rather than sending them to a care facility of some kind.
That's correct. Yes, I know that in every single culture, family is very important. So don't get me wrong, it's like
Right.
we all
Right.
care about family, but the frequency and how the family expectations influence our life, I think is bigger here than in other countries. Not all of
Right.
them, but in
Yeah.
other countries.
Yeah.
Like it's very often I remember when I was little and we live in the same city that my grandmother lives, or my grandparents, we visited them every single weekend. And before I moved, I visited my parents. I was married, but I visited my parents or my in-laws every weekend. Like the Sundays was like family day. No friends, was family.
Right.
Yep.
So that, and also the expectations, like living with your parents until you get married is very common here, and it's not seen like a failure to launch. It's like, no, like in the United States, like you are 40 and you're still living with your parents. That's weird. Here is
Yeah.
It's
it's
accepted.
accepted.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
probably because the economic issue and the family ties, but it's very common to see that, and family influence many things.
What's that?
The family expectations influence a lot of your life decisions. In some families more, in some families less, but it's like more influence, like what career choice do you need to make, or sometimes even friendships, like this is our bubble and you need to stay here. So yes, it's more family expectations.
Would you say like the living at home until you get married, is that the same for the boys and girls here, or is it?
It's changing. I think the new generations are a little different, but still there are people who live with their parents. I think it's for boys and girls. I got married when I was 25 and my husband was 27, and he is still living with his parents at that age, and I was living with my parents at that age. And doesn't mean that we couldn't pay for an apartment to live, because we both were working. We have good money. We were able to buy a house and a car
Right.
and pay our expenses. But it's like, what I'm gonna do just living by myself when I can live with my parents.
Yeah.
So it's different. And it's interdependency. It's not like dependent of your parents. It's you help me out with something, I help you out
Right.
with something else. And
I think maybe the difference in like the United States is, I think a lot of times people, that independence is just there more so, where they just want to be out on their own. They want to get their own place. They want to, whatever, you know, have their own life. Their family's still there, but they just kind of want their independence by themselves, you know.
Right.
Like I said, I mean, you know, they're still going to visit their family and have that relationship, but just, it's a little bit different, I think, in the United States.
It
They
is,
just
it
don't want to
is.
be living under their parents' roofs.
Yeah.
Because essentially, like in the U.S., if you're still living with your parents, you have to follow all their rules and.
yes.
But that's the same thing here,
It's,
right?
it's the same thing here, but I think in the United States they teach you since you are a little boy or girl how to do things by yourself.
Yeah.
Here, we help at home, but it's more the mom who does the thing. It's more like a traditional home. The dad works. Also here, some moms work, but yes, the parents take more care of the children. I think the children in United States are more independent, and they grow up more independent.
True. I think in the United States, you have both parents that are usually working.
And here it's changing, here too.
Yeah.
But it's still, there, yes, the ties, I don't know, it's
Right.
like, oh, they're my children, I'm gonna spoil them a little bit and cook for them, and you help.
Right.
But the one who makes most of the things are the parents. Yes. Yes, United States, there are some studies, and it's the more individualistic country in the world. That means it's the most independent. And it has plus and cons, like anything. They are very independent. There are, yes, self-oriented. They're like, it's my life. I need to take responsibility
So
of
studies
my
show that.
life.
Studies show that, you're saying, with the United States.
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
interesting. Okay.
yes.
Okay.
And Mexico is not the most collectivism, but is close to the top ones.
Collectivism in terms in a family environment or
In society,
in society.
that
Okay.
people rely more on each other. It's not like it's your problem, it's our problem.
Oh, gotcha.
So
gotcha.
we help each other. Like
Right.
in United States, people also help each other, but it's more like if it's your problem, you try to solve it by yourself.
Right.
Here, you know that you count with a large
Right.
community and
Okay.
ask for favors and help each other.
Yeah, so that is quite a difference than the United
is, yeah.
States.
Yeah. It's
Usually in the United States, like they'll try to do it themselves until they need that help.
Right.
But where in Mexico, it starts out as like with the family involved and all of that.
And a community.
Yeah.
That if a friend asks me for a favor that I cannot do, I will never say no. It's like I cannot do it, but I know someone who knows someone who may be able to help you.
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
like a huge support network that help each other, and probably like a favor chain. Like
Like
we
a
don't do it
networking.
because I'm gonna do this because then you're gonna owe me a favor. We don't do it like that.
Yeah.
Right.
But it ends up like that. Like
Yeah.
I do you a favor, and then you
Right.
feel like more responsibility to do a favor or return the favor.
Yeah, and Paulette and I have experienced that too in Mexico. Like we'll ask our friends if they know how to do something, and they may not know, but they will say, "But I know someone who knows how." So Toyi has a book, and this is it. It's called Global Citizen. And so I wonder if you could talk a little bit about the contents of the book, what's in it, and where people can find it to buy.
Okay. The book is divided in two parts. The first part is about the cultural differences, and it's not only United States and Mexico, it's from everywhere in the world. So, for example, in direct languages, they say these countries tend to be more direct, these countries tend to be more indirect, and there are some countries in between.
Okay.
So like those differences that we were talking about is split in 8 chapters, and I think I mentioned like 6 differences. And the second part is about all the adaptation process, how to meet people, how to learn the language faster with proven techniques, how to adapt better. The second part, what I did is I work as a relocation consultant, like destination and intercultural consultant. So the first part is just the cultural. And the second part is what I notice my clients struggle the most, or my friends, or people who live in another country struggle the most. So they say, oh, I feel bad because my mom or my parents are getting older and are very sick, and I cannot be with them. And they feel like very guilty to leave them behind. So one part talks about all that expat guilt, that is not only to leave your country, leave your parents, that probably you are earning a lot of money and you see that in your home country people are struggling to find a job or they're poor. So many expat guilts, and it's mentioned that and how to overcome that.
I just want to say something here for, like a lot of people retiring and moving to Mexico, a lot of them are leaving behind elderly parents, you know, in the States. And so there's some people may be feeling some guilt about that, you know.
Yes, a lot of people feel guilty
Yeah.
about that, or feel that they are betraying their country. And a lot of people told me that. So you're not Mexican anymore? I say, I love Mexico. I will be Mexican forever. I just live in another country and I have another nationality, but it's not. You will hear that comment a lot, like being an expat is having your heart divided, and for me, it's having your heart expanded. You have more of everything. So I don't feel
I
like
like that.
I lost my Mexican identity,
Right,
or I'm not American enough. I think I'm both.
right.
And I'm taking the best of Mexico and the best of United States and create my own, and the best of Belgium and countries that I probably just visited or even not visited, but I met someone and say, oh, I like that about that culture. So taking a little bit of all the cultures that you come along, you create your own identity and your own culture. So for me, it's that, like expanding, like you have more options to choose from, more things to choose from.
Yeah.
So that's what I think.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point on what you said. So I opened up the book and I just wanted to tell you what some of her, there's 16 chapters, correct? 16 chapters. One of them is called Beneath the Culture Surface, Wrong, Right, or Different, Lost in Translation, What Time Is It? Who is the boss? Me or we? Joyful alignment.
Global citizen.
Global citizen. To move or not to move? That is the question. Global adjustment stages. Spread your wings without guilt. I think that is a big one too, like what you were just saying.
Yes.
I think that's probably the biggest for a lot of people when they make that move.
To move or to not to move too. Because that, well, for someone that has already moved, it's maybe a little late. But for someone that is thinking or considering, it has a lot of things to think about it.
Yeah.
Like job opportunities, the cost of living, the weather. If you're moving to a country that has discrimination issues against your color or against your race or your gender or whatever. So it gives you a big list, like, okay, think about it deeply and then decide, because there is no a perfect country. So put everything on the balance and decide, well, is worth it or not, but it has a lot of considerations to make.
Yeah, and when we put videos out there, a lot of times we'll talk to people and we'll say, you know, if you decide that you want to move to Mexico, great, you know, just be flexible. You have to be flexible because where you're at is one culture. Coming here, it's a little bit different. So you need to be open, you need to be flexible, you need to embrace the culture.
Exactly.
You know, and then we'll also say, you know, there's nothing wrong with making a move, whether it's Mexico or somewhere else, and it doesn't work for you. That's okay. At least you tried.
That's okay.
Right?
Yes, that's okay.
Right? Because you may have one image of what life is going to be like in this other country, right? You get there, and now your expectations aren't anything like what you thought. So that's perfectly okay too if you
Yes,
can't adjust.
of course. I talk about that in another
Yeah.
chapter. That's the chapter
The grass is greener.
Oh, the grass is greener.
Stop complaining.
Yeah.
So if you like it, stay there and just look at the positives. If you don't like it, can you change? And if you don't like it and you cannot change it, just go back, and it's fine. It's
Yeah.
totally fine. It's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah.
Yes, it wasn't for you. But the first chapter in that part helps to decide that, because a lot of people, and it was slightly my case, you go to one country and you like it a lot. It's like, in this case, Mexico. The beaches are so nice, the weather is perfect, okay, but you come on vacation.
Right.
And you think that moving there is gonna feel like that.
Right.
So you don't have to deal with these contractors, with the day-to-day issues.
That's right.
So it's more, that chapter is like more real. Like have a real expectations,
Right.
no like traveling expectations that you're gonna eat in the restaurants and have good service and don't have to do anything at home,
Right.
or go to work. It's no vacation, you're gonna live there.
Right.
So learn more about the culture, about the country, how is living in that country.
Dealing with the language barrier, and trying to order something, when you're trying to go into a restaurant, you're trying to order, find something on the menu that's in Spanish that you might like, or going to the CFE office to get the electric bill set up in your name, or all of these other things. Now, we found it like in Mexico, typically when we're talking to younger people, they'll have at least some understanding of English, but really, it's on you to learn some Spanish, at least enough
The
to
basic.
get by.
Right. It's also Google Translation that can help you a lot. And you can talk and they can translate. But yes, the basics are very important. If you meet someone on the street and say, hello, how are you? At least you know what they're talking about. And,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And don't get the Google Translation.
Right. Right.
Yes, but
Yeah.
yes, it's very important. It's the
Yeah.
way you
Yeah.
connect with the locals.
And one of the other things I was going to say, what I'll do a lot of times is I'll tell somebody, look, if you can take 3 or 4 weeks and come to wherever it is that you're interested in Mexico, and stay there and really kind of soak in the culture, soak in the day-to-day life, not at a resort, no,
Right.
but the day-to-day life, maybe get on the local bus, maybe whatever, shop at the mercados, whatever, that really gives you a more of an understanding than being here on vacation,
A
for
more
sure.
realistic.
A realistic, yeah.
Yes.
If you can
Expectations.
be here for like a month, I think that kind, because like the first week, it's glamorous, it's wonderful. Maybe the second week it's it's fading a little bit, or maybe it's still glamorous. Well, when you go into week 3 and 4, maybe now you're kind of like, I'm seeing things a little different, or whatever. And I think that's really important.
When the honeymoon phase wears off.
Yeah,
Yes.
I kind of think that's important for people. And
Yes.
I really think for any of you guys that are really considering Mexico, I think that this is a great book that you can learn from. And where can they get your book?
It's in Amazon Global.
Okay.
It has 3 formats. It's paperback, hardcover, and Kindle. In Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, Booktopia, several places. And if they are here in San Luis Potosí, my parents have copies in English and Spanish.
Okay, so English and Spanish. So, I mean, when we went to the meeting the other day that you had, that's why we wanted to interview, because we just think that this is really important information. You
It's
know?
made with all my heart.
Yes.
And the origin of this book, I wasn't planning to write a book. I wasn't planning to write that book. It all started, I started like writing tips for my clients. So whenever I see like, oh, they are struggling on this, because I think I adapted very quickly to every single place I have lived. So I started writing tips like, okay, this worked for me, probably works for you. And they, at some point say, you know, what you told me really helped me with this and that. I say, so I said, I'm gonna do like a small guide, but I was thinking like 5 pages with the tips that I consider the most important. And I started in the pandemic because they closed the borders.
Oh, right.
I didn't have a job. So I say, when they open, I'm gonna have like some tips already for them. So
Nice.
as a welcome package, like do this and that, I will make your life easier. But I started writing and it grew and grew and grew and ended up in that
And
book.
how many pages is this? Let's see.
295, I think.
You're going the wrong way.
Yeah, I'm going to the end of the book to see how many pages where it ends. Oh, I was just looking at the pages. Let's see. The last page says key takeaways. Page 269. So there's a lot of pages here.
A lot of information.
A lot of information.
And I summarized that because originally it was like 500 pages. I say, no one wants to read that much.
Yeah.
So I summarized, and every chapter is a reference book.
Yeah.
So whatever you're struggling with, you just go to that chapter. You don't have to read the whole book. If you already know the language, you can skip that one and go to the next one. If you already have friends, skip that one and go to the next one.
Right.
If you don't feel guilt,
Right.
so you jump
Yeah.
as you need. And all the chapters have, the structure is, they have a personal story about me, what I learned about that story, then it's backed up by research. If you can see, all the biography is large. So it's backed up with biography because I didn't want to say, I think the Americans are this and that and that.
Right.
I say, no.
Right.
It's a very sensitive topic. So I want to do some research and do it in a nice way, because my intention is not to point fingers or to say this culture is right and this culture is wrong.
Right.
It's more like
Information.
we all have something beautiful to share with the others. So just take the best. So it's my story, what I learned, back it up with research, and then at the end is the takeaways. So a summary of the chapter.
Yeah, I wish we had this book when we first moved here.
Yeah, that would have been helpful. for
Yeah,
us,
it
for
really would have
sure.
been helpful. So, I mean, honestly, I'm going to give her a plug here that I think, and I'm going to tell you guys, I think that this is a very good book if you're really considering moving, maybe not even to Mexico.
Any place.
Yeah, any
Any
place.
place.
This is a really good reference guide that she took the time, she wrote, and she
Yeah.
wants to share it with you. And I think that this is a great reference book to keep in your home, to refer to learn from, to get a better understanding.
Yes, and not only for people who are moving. If you interact with people, that is now the case of many of us, if you work in a multinational company or you interact with people from diverse countries,
Gotcha.
that will help. And even I have one aunt that says, I read your book and really helped me to understand my husband. And both are Mexicans. But each person is different nationality, and to see the other perspective is like, oh, okay. You are no angry at me because of that.
Right.
Just your way to express is different than mine.
Right.
And that's what the book about, just understanding each other.
So, another thing I wanted to ask you about is sound in Mexico. Whether it's an all-night party going on next door that doesn't start until 11 p.m. and goes on
Yes.
for hours, which, you know, in the United States, probably there would be an issue there, but
And get the police.
Yeah, because there's what is it, a noise
ordinance.
order? Yeah,
But here in Mexico, it's, people don't seem to mind that, or people, they just kind of accept it. So I wanted to kind of get your opinion on that.
that's a good question.
Yes, I think because most of us had parties late on, it's like, okay, I tolerate your
Right.
volume, but then you have to tolerate mine. And it's like that. And yes, we don't
You don't
bother
mind it.
that much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just get good earplugs and try to sleep. And most of us have a very strong social life, so we probably are at the party
Right.
or
Yes.
another
At the
party
party.
too, so we don't listen.
One of the things I wanted to just mention is that having a decent vocabulary in Spanish will help you with understanding the culture a little more, at least in my opinion.
Of course, understanding the language of any culture will help you to connect with locals, to better communicate and integrate to the culture. So yes, I think language is very important. Sometimes it's not that necessary. Like for me in Belgium, they all speak English, so I was able to communicate very easily in English. But either way, if you really want to connect with the locals or make good friends, it will always be better to learn the local language.
Yeah.
At least the basics.
Yeah. Yeah. So I
Yeah,
think-
we know enough to get us by.
And what we don't know, when we're talking to people, we'll fumble through it and they'll just kind of laugh at us, but correct us along the way too, you know.
Yeah.
And I always think about that time when we first arrived in Mexico. We went into a coffee shop and Paula says, yo quiero todo la café. Like, I want all the coffee. They were looking like, what?
Yeah, they
How
looked at me
did that
like,
happen?
and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
It was like, I asked for all the coffee. They're like, what? You want all
We
the
all
coffee?
make those mistakes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and then, but we just laughed it off and said, no, just, you know,
Just one.
uno taza, por favor. You know.
Yeah.
So, are there any things that we haven't covered yet that you feel like would be important to our viewers to understand?
We were talking about the noise.
Sí,
Should
yes.
we complete that one?
Okay.
Yeah.
So yes, the parties go on like very, very late. We speak kind of loud. Our volume of voice is normally louder than several cultures. We have, yes, the mariachis on the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Dogs barking. The vendors in the morning offering their products.
Yeah.
So yes, it's very vibrant, loud culture.
Yeah. And that's true. Mexico is a louder culture. They even speak louder, I think. You know, more a little higher decibel level than we might be used to in the United States.
Yes, and with more hand gestures and
Yeah.
yes.
So, and the other thing we've noticed, Paulette and I have noticed that, like, Mexicans are the nicest people until they get behind the wheel of a car, and then it's just crazy.
Yes, that's true.
You know, so
I'm
driving.
very flexible with time,
Yeah.
but no on traffic lights. That's
Yeah.
correct. Yes.
Yeah. They'll. It'll be 3 seconds before the traffic light turns green, and they're already on the horn.
That's correct.
You know, trying to get you to go. So that's a difference too.
Yes,
I mean,
that-
if you're driving a car here, you're gonna have to get used to the
Driving
way
the
that
car
they
from
drive here.
United States to Mexico, I think is challenging.
Yeah.
You need to get used, yes. some lines that you cannot see.
Uh-huh.
People drive a little more aggressive. They cross in the middle. You were driving and so suddenly
Yeah,
someone passes
and-
you.
We've talked about this before, driving around a roundabout, the person on the very inside of the roundabout will just make a
Goes
sharp
to-
right in front of you. But there are some good things too, like when they're, like truck drivers as an example, they'll pull off to the shoulder of the road and then turn on their left turn signal
Yes,
to let
I
you know
love
that
that.
it's okay to pass. And that's,
I love that. I love that. Yes.
Yeah, that, too bad that wasn't universal
yeah.
throughout the United States and other countries. Because I think that's a really nice
Yeah.
thing that the
Yes.
truck drivers do.
And
That
that's
move.
the thing.
And the
that-
cars too.
Yeah.
So is the left line is for speed to pass.
Uh-huh.
But if you're not passing, you need to go to the right lane. Yes.
And that took me some time to get used to too, to actually drive on the shoulder of the road, basically. Because in the U.S. you don't drive on the shoulder of the road because there might be metal or something that can pop your tires. But doesn't seem to be really a concern here. You just pull over to the side of the road if there's someone behind you. I mean,
Right.
I don't drive on the shoulder of the road all the time, only until there's someone behind me. to let
Well, a
them
lot of
pass.
times we do it like if the other
Well, yeah, if there's
cars are
oncoming
coming this
traffic,
way and they want to pass, they'll come, into your lane.
Yeah.
So it's better to drive a lot of times. If we see a lot of cars coming the other direction, we'll pull over like on
Yeah.
the shoulder part.
That's
So if
true.
they want to pass, they've got the room to do that.
Yes. And they do that all the time
Yeah.
to give you some room to pass. Yes.
So, all right. Is there anything else you'd like to mention?
Get her book. Get her book.
Get my
That's
book.
what I want.
Buy the book.
Get her book.
And I'll include some links in the description to where you can order her book from.
And if you have any questions, I am in Instagram and Facebook too. So you can write me any question and I
Okay.
will do my best to answer right
So,
away.
I'll
And
post,
I don't have time now, but it's my goal to start in January to do more posts about culture, about Mexico.
Okay.
So some information about.
and I'll include those links to her social media
Thank you.
accounts
I
too.
appreciate that. Thank
So,
you.
And we appreciate you taking time out of your busy
Yeah,
schedule
we really
to
do.
come
Thank
here.
you. Thank you so much for the invitation. It was nice to be here.
It was.
Well, when we went to the meeting yesterday where you were going to be speaking, and after you spoke, we thought, oh, we need to have her in our
Yeah.
YouTube video so she can share and then talk about her book, which I think I'm gonna read it from cover to cover because I'm gonna learn as much as I can. I think it's an insightful book,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna utilize it. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
But thank you so much
No,
for
thank
coming.
you
We really appreciate
for your invitation.
the time that you
and
took to come
kindness.
over
Thank
and
you.
share this information with the viewers.
Anytime.
important.
Anytime. A pleasure.
So from the two travelers in Mexico, we hope that you like the content information that we brought you today. Again, get this book. I think it's going to be fabulous. You guys will love it. And as always, from the two travelers in Mexico,
What she
What you
did.
did.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you for watching our video. If you like what we're doing, we hope you'll consider subscribing, liking the video, sharing the video if you think it can help someone else. We also have a Facebook group called The Two Travelers in Mexico where we talk about more day-to-day stuff about life in Mexico.